won't he? That's the million-dollar question. And our cover story tonight: will U.S. President Donald Trump scrap the nuclear deal with Iran? He's tweeted to say that he will make an announcement in a few hours from now, 11:30 p.m. IST to be precise. Trump has repeatedly threatened to pull out of the historic agreement that was signed during the Obama years. Since his campaign days, Donald Trump has opposed and attacked the Iran agreement. He argues that Iran cannot be trusted and this deal is ineffective. Listen in to what he's been saying about this deal.
The Iran deal was one of the worst and most one-sided transactions I've ever seen drawn by anybody, ever. And I mean never. Frankly, it was totally one-sided. It should have never been made. Believe me. Wherever there's trouble, Yemen, Syria, no matter where you have it, Iran is behind it. Today I am announcing our strategy to ensure that Iran never, ever, and I mean never, acquires a nuclear weapon. They restart their nuclear program, they will have bigger problems than they have ever had before. Big problems. I can tell you that. And we'll see what phase 2 is. Phase 2 might be positive and it might be very negative. But I will say, if Iran threatens us in any way, they will pay a price like few countries have ever paid.
Well, these are just some of the comments he's made over the years. Iran, on the other hand, over the months, Iran, on the other hand, remains defiant. President Hassan Rouhani has said that junking this deal will be a historic blunder for America and that Tehran will tide over the fallout. Rouhani also added that Iran seeks consecutive and constructive relations with the world. Consecutive, for God.
اینکه گاهی میگن تحریم میشه نعمت، ما باید یک کاری بکنیم که خودمون رابطه صمیمانه‌مون بشه نعمت. حالا تحریم میخواد باشه میخواد نباشه، یعنی بگیم چون تحریم شدیم مجبوریم، این که خوب نیست. بگیم چون ما تحریم میشیم پس مجبوریم بریم در داخل یک کاری بکنیم. نه، تحریم بشیم یا نشیم، ما باید بریم به سمت اینکه رو پای خودمون وایسیم، بارها رو شونه خودمون بگیریم. خب این یک ضرورته.
In contrast, Donald Trump is upsetting most of his traditional allies. The International Atomic Energy Agency, for one, which is the United Nations nuclear watchdog, continues to back Iran. They say that Tehran is honoring this agreement. The European Union strongly supports this deal. In recent weeks, European leaders like French President Emmanuel Macron and German Chancellor Angela Merkel paid a visit to Washington to personally lobby for this agreement. On the other side of the divide is Trump's good friend and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He's leading the charge against Iran. Netanyahu claims that this deal is based on a lie. Last week, remember, he held a press conference. He made bold accusations about Iran's nuclear record. But despite the theatrics, he failed to convince anyone. There was no new evidence of Iran's nuclear program running. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump himself and his own aides are digging for dirt. A report in the New Yorker claims that Trump's aides hired Black Cube. What is Black Cube? It's an Israeli intelligence firm that is known for operating in the dark. The aim was to spy on officials who worked for President Obama. The report claims that this is an effort to undermine the Iran deal. In fact, we have breaking news coming in right now. Donald Trump and French President Emmanuel Macron spoke with each other ahead of the U.S. President's announcement on Iran. The LSE Palace says that both these leaders discussed issues related to peace and stability in West Asia. And this is just before the announcement. Donald Trump, remember, tweeted to say that he is going to announce his decision on the Iran deal. The deadline was the 12th of May. In the past, he has threatened to scrap this deal, but has stopped short of doing so. And this will involve some bit of procedure. But for the moment, the U.S. president keeping everyone guessing. And we can safely assume that this was a last-ditch attempt by the French president to try and ensure that the deal stays. We'll try and take you to Washington in just a bit. But for the moment, we come to this question. Why do the critics want this deal dead? Is this about Trump's posturing and Israel's anti-Iran agenda? Is there more to what's being called an avoidable crisis? Sure enough, there is oil. Like the Iraq War, like the first Gulf War, like most conflicts in this region, this too could be about oil. And instigated by none other than Saudi Arabia. We'll explain. Oil is the most valuable commodity of Iran. So if the US President, Donald Trump, decides to pull out of the Iran deal, his decision will have a direct impact on the oil markets, the global oil markets. The suspense over President Trump's announcement has already sent the international oil markets into a tizzy. Ahead of Donald Trump's address, US oil markets closed above $70 a barrel for the first time since 2014. This is a 4-year high. If Trump pulls out of the deal, it will mean fresh sanctions on Iran. Tehran will not be able to sell its oil. In other words, up to 500,000 barrels of Iranian crude oil will be out of the world market. What will this do? It will further push up prices. Who does this benefit? Other oil suppliers like Saudi Arabia. So the end of this deal will be good news for Saudi Arabia. It has been lobbying for the same. Now look at some recent developments and market reports. Goldman Sachs says that oil sanctions on Iran will shoot up prices of crude oil by up to $7 a barrel. This situation will be ideal for Saudi Arabia and its company Aramco. It's the national oil company of Saudi Arabia. So far, Aramco was being funded by the Saudi state and the royal family, but now Aramco is planning to go public. The Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman is the mind behind the Aramco IPO. It's coming out soon. The net worth of this oil giant could be up to $2 trillion already. In the event of a shortage in the market, Saudi Arabia, that has grown closer to the White House after Donald Trump took office, could be the ultimate beneficiary. So scrapping this deal makes business sense for President Trump and his Saudi friends. So is this a Saudi-engineered crisis? You can put two and two together. Let's take you to Washington. WION's correspondent Kevin McAlissey is joining us. Kevin, we understand that President Macron spoke to Donald Trump just a short while back, and I understand no prizes for guessing what this was about, but any indications on which way this is going to go?
Well, I think the expectation here in Washington, D.C. is that Donald Trump will in some form remove the United States from the JCPOA at 2 o'clock local time when he gives that speech at the White House. What we don't yet know is what that will look like, whether that will be a hard exit from this 2015 Obama-era deal, or whether it will be something a bit more symbolic that perhaps will contain exemptions for US allies who already have sort of funding streams now set up with Tehran and would like to see those protected? Or will there be a push by the administration to renegotiate a deal with Tehran? Iran, of course, has said, you know, they're not willing to talk about that at this stage and that they want to honour the terms of the agreement. The other thing, the more perhaps extreme approach from this administration could be to start looking at regime change as another option. But certainly a number of possibilities. We think he's going to pull the United States out of the deal, but we're not sure exactly what that will look like.
Is the president's decision, Kevin, the final word? Is there a follow-up procedure involving the Congress perhaps to completely scrap the deal if that is what the White House finally decides?
Yes, it will be Donald Trump's. Ultimately, it will be his decision. But then there will be a period of about some 6 months, and this is significant, 6 months before those sanctions that he has waived a number of times would be reimposed and renewed against Iran. If they are third-party sanctions, they would also prohibit the international community from trading with Iran. That would be particularly damaging to Iran's economy. So that would be the strictest, the toughest removal of the United States from this nuclear accord. But yes, ultimately it will be Donald Trump's decision. But within those 6 months or so before all of that would happen, there's time for a renegotiation, perhaps. So I wouldn't say that the European allies are completely lost for another approach to salvaging this deal at the moment. There may still be time to save something of the JCPOA.
Right, Kevin. There are some reports that say that Donald Trump has told Macron that he is withdrawing. Can you confirm that for us?
I don't have a readout of that conversation at the moment, but of course Macron, along with several other European leaders, Germany's Chancellor Angela Merkel and more recently the Foreign Minister of the United Kingdom Boris Johnson, have all come over here on these diplomatic missions to try and re-engage Donald Trump with the conditions and the terms of this deal. It seems that they are basically fighting a losing battle. That's certainly the noises coming out of the White House, that they were unable to transform Donald Trump's position on a deal that he has called insane and ridiculous. And remember who's on his right-hand side and his left-hand side. He's got Mike Pompeo, his new Secretary of State, and his new National Security Advisor, John Bolton, well-established Iranian hawks, or hawks towards Iran on this matter. Strong skeptics for a long time on the nature of this deal and the terms that Donald Trump says simply don't go far enough to address Tehran's ballistic ambitions and what the United States sees as their nefarious destabilizing actions across the Middle East.
And while we report on the forces trying to kill this deal, we must also highlight those who are furiously trying to save it. Several European leaders recently made trips to the White House in an attempt to convince Donald Trump to honor the Iran deal. And then there's John Kerry, the former US Secretary of State, who was part of the team that struck this deal. His shadow diplomacy has now come to the fore. Of course, Donald Trump does not like it. He even says that Kerry's moves to lobby lawmakers are illegal. The question is this indeed an illegal pursuit? Why is John Kerry still invested and interested in this deal? Gravitas does a fact check for you.
President Obama's Secretary of State, John Kerry, is back in the news. Kerry is trying hard to save the Iran nuclear deal that he was closely involved with back in 2015. He has held strategic sessions with Iran Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif. Kerry has even held parleys with U.S. lawmakers and European officials. But U.S. President Donald Trump is miffed with Kerry's shadow diplomacy. Trump thinks Kerry's meetings are possibly illegal. He blames the former Secretary of State for creating this mess. But the U.S. president's personal lawyer, Rudolph Giuliani, did not mince his words and attacked Kerry. Giuliani accuses Kerry of violating the Logan Act. The Logan Act bars private citizens from interfering in diplomatic relations of the United States with foreign governments. The aim of this law is to prohibit private citizens from influencing foreign officials and conducting private diplomacy against the United States. So has John Kerry committed a crime? The answer depends on whom you ask. Some experts believe that since the Iran deal is still in place, Kerry has not undermined the American foreign policy. But no one knows what the former U.S. Secretary of State discussed with foreign leaders and diplomats. Legally speaking, the 18th century Logan Act has been a dead letter since the day it was introduced. No one accused under this law has ever been prosecuted. American politicians have used the Logan Act as a political weapon at rivals. But in this case, the irony is that members of the Trump campaign face similar charges in the ongoing Russia meddling investigation. Bureau Report, WION.
The timing of this decision is of immense significance. It comes just weeks before Donald Trump negotiates another nuclear deal, in a manner of speaking. We're talking about North Korea. The Trump-Kim talks are due shortly. If Washington refuses to honor a multilateral deal, how will it be received in Pyongyang? How will Kim Jong-un respond to it? It is anybody's guess how Chairman Kim's mind works. But every which way you look at it, quitting the Iran deal might well make Kim think twice before committing himself to anything, let alone giving up his nuclear weapons. The young and wily Kim sees nuclear weapons as an insurance policy against American misadventures, a defense or deterrence against any attempt to regime change. So Kim Jong-un would not be entirely wrong if he were to ask himself the question, can I trust Donald Trump? Will Trump keep his end of the bargain? Will I meet the same fate as perhaps Muammar Gaddafi of Libya? After calling Kim Jong-un names on Twitter, remember the little rocket man, the madman jibes, Donald Trump now thinks that Kim is quote-unquote very honorable. And in a few weeks' time, Donald Trump will become the first sitting American president to hold talks with a North Korean leader. Washington and Pyongyang are on the cusp of détente. Will Trump risk it all by pulling out from a nuclear deal, which much of the world, with the exception of Israel, says was the best under the circumstances? Will Kim and Khamenei trump the Donald? Well, there are wheels within wheels, and we'll see how this goes. In the meantime, there's more breaking news coming in, more trouble for absconding business tycoon Vijay Mallya. He has lost a lawsuit filed by 13 Indian banks in the United Kingdom. Indian banks have moved UK courts for recovery of more than $1 billion. The banks had moved the British court to enforce a ruling by the Indian Debt Recovery Tribunal. The tribunal had earlier allowed a consortium of 17 Indian banks to begin the proceedings to recover the multi-billion-dollar debt in the name of Vijay Mallya's now defunct Kingfisher Airlines. And joining us live from London is our bureau chief there, Mandy Clark. Hello, Mandy. How big a setback is this for Vijay Mallya?
Well, it is a massive setback. In many ways, it might have effect on the extradition hearing. So there's two different court cases that Vijay Mallya was facing in London. One was looking at his assets and the assets freeze, which he's just lost. And the judge says his team of lawyers will have to go directly to the Court of Appeal. But he made it quite clear that he felt that the banks had every right to try and get their assets back. And it's it's a precedent-setting case because in the UK we haven't had decisions from other jurisdictions, other countries being recognized and allowing to go ahead and happen here. So although it's happening to Vijay Mallya, it could have other meanings, other financial people who have fled their own countries. This might affect those law cases. But specifically for Vijay Mallya, that basically the judge decided that he had defaulted on these loans. It could affect the extradition case because the extradition case that's still ongoing, that's only due to have the hearing around July 11th, that final hearing. They are deciding a prima facie case, whether there is a case to be answered in India. And if the one judge has already decided that he has defaulted on loans, it might have some influence on that other hearing.
At the risk of being repetitive, I'm going to ask you this again for the benefit of our viewers. Does this decision from the UK court mean that these Indian banks are closer to recovering their money, or has Vijay Mallya just been declared a defaulter, and so it sets a basis for these banks to push for further proceedings?
It's not a silly question. It's incredibly complicated how it all works. But in many ways, yes, the judge has, in fact, called him a defaulter and allowed these banks to push to get their assets. Now, whether that will directly affect his extradition hearing is yet to be seen, but it certainly seems to have gone against him in many ways because in his extradition hearing, he has claimed that he was not a defaulter, that he took the loans in good faith, was hoping to pay them back, but because of the financial crash and what have you, that is why he couldn't pay them back. That is the defense that he set out in the extradition case. Of course, this is a separate trial, but this judge said, look, you've defaulted on the assets. The banks have every right to seize it. But Vijay Mallya is not a poor man. He still has to live on £200,000 a week. That's a lot more money than anybody else. But all the other assets, it seems the banks will have access to get back on the loans that they had lost.
Final question, Mandy. What happens next in this case?
Well, if he decides, he can go to the Court of Appeal, but the judge seemed to strongly discourage it. Certainly, he wasn't going to entertain any appeals to his verdict. What's next in the extradition hearing is there are still more evidence to give separately about that hearing. Whether this might have influence over the extradition hearing is yet to be seen. It certainly is not presented as evidence, but it won't escape the other judge's knowledge that this case has decided that he's considered a defaulter. So we'll only find out whether he will be considered for extradition on July 11th. That's that final hearing where both sides will give their final summons.
All right, Mandy Clark, thanks very much for bringing us this breaking news on Gravitas. Vijay Mallya losing that debt recovery case. This lawsuit was filed by a consortium of 17 Indian banks to recover the money that Vijay Mallya owes them. So this is going to impact, as Mandy said, his extradition hearing as well. That's a case we'll be tracking very, very closely. That is North Korea. Trump will have a third player to contend with in his equation with the Koreans, and that is China. After the historic train ride last month, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has paid another visit to China, this time on a plane. He travelled to the port city of Dalian to hold talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping, and I must repeat, this is the second time in 2 months that both leaders have met. Just like the meeting in Beijing, Kim Jong-un's visit to Dalian was also kept under wraps. Chinese media said that the aim of these talks was to strengthen strategic communication between both the leaders. Analysts feel that by meeting Xi Jinping again, Kim is trying to get China on board for his diplomatic overtures towards the United States. Ahead of the meeting with Trump, Kim has criticized Trump for claiming credit for the détente. The US president has said that his strategy of putting maximum political pressure on North Korea drove it to the negotiating table. North Korea has called these claims misleading. The next event to watch out for is a summit between the leaders of Japan, South Korea and China. That will happen in Tokyo. Japan, remember, seems to have been relegated to the margins of the ongoing diplomatic parleys. It is expected to discuss North Korea on priority in that meeting. South Korean President Moon Jae-in and Chinese Premier Li Keqiang will be in Tokyo for this meeting. Needless to say, we'll be tracking all of that for you. Still ahead on the show. Now, the man driving the BJP's election machine in Karnataka is none other than its party president, Amit Shah. He's campaigned vigorously through the state, mobilized his cadre to try and unseat the Congress from one of its last big bastions in the country. WION's editor-in-chief, Sudhir Chaudhary, spoke to the BJP chief. Here are a few excerpts from that exclusive interview.
आज हमने राहुल गांधी को साइकिल चलाते हुए देखा और राहुल गांधी बयानबाजी भी काफ़ी अच्छी कर रहे हैं, भाषण अच्छे दे रहे हैं, लगातार आपको चुनौती दे रहे हैं। इस चुनाव में आपको राहुल गांधी का अग्रेशन कैसा लग रहा है?
हर बार एग्रेसिव तरीके से बोलते हैं, लगभग 7-8 चुनावों से मैं देख रहा हूं।
पिछली बार जब आप
और हर हार उनका एग्रेशन बढ़ाती है।
जी, पिछली बार जब आप कर्नाटक में आए थे तब सोनिया गांधी लीड कर रही थी, इस बार राहुल गांधी लीड कर रहे हैं, कोई अंतर आप देखते हैं?
देखिए, राहुल जी के नेतृत्व में काफी चुनाव हुए, भले सोनिया गांधी जी अध्यक्षता थी, परंतु राहुल गांधी वरिष्ठ उपाध्यक्ष थे और करीब करीब काफी समय से 2015 से कांग्रेस की चीजों को देख रहे हैं। 2014 से अब तक कांग्रेस की 11 सरकारें चली गई,
ये भी जाएगी
निश्चित रूप से। कर्नाटक के अंदर कांग्रेस की हार निश्चित है।
एंटी इनकम्बेंसी वेव जो आप बता रहे हैं आपको यहाँ देखने को मिली होगी, और भी बहुत सारी जगहों पे जहाँ आपने विजय हासिल की, जब से 2014 के बाद अब तक हर जगह एंटी इनकम्बेंसी वेव का फायदा आपको मिला। इसको आप ये भी कह सकते हैं कि बीजेपी के पक्ष में लहर चल रही थी, पर अब 4 साल के बाद यही लहर का सामना आपको भी करना पड़ सकता है।
मुझे ऐसा इसलिए नहीं लगता कि 4 साल में हमने सरकार चलाते वक्त सदैव ध्यान रखा है कि इस देश के अंतिम व्यक्ति के जीवन स्तर को कैसे उठाया जाए। सुधीर भाई, 22 करोड़ परिवारों को हमने टच किया है, उसके जीवन स्तर को उठाने का प्रयास किया है। नरेंद्र मोदी जी के इनिशिएटिव के कारण, प्रधानमंत्री जी की नीतियों के कारण आज 3.5 करोड़ घरों में गैस पहुंच चुका है, 7.5 करोड़ घरों में शौचालय पहुंच चुका है, 1 करोड़ घरों में लाइट पहुंच चुकी है। 19,000 गांव जो 70 साल से आज़ादी के 70 साल से अंधेरे में जीते थे, वहां पर लाइट पहुंचाने का हमने काम समाप्त कर रहे थे। करोड़ों बच्चों के टीकाकरण की व्यवस्था को सुदृढ़ किया है, संपूर्ण किया है। अनेक लोगों को, करोड़ों लोगों को बीमा से सुरक्षित, सिर्फ 12 रुपये में बीमा, 12 रुपये में बीमा से सुरक्षित करने का काम भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार ने किया है। और सबसे तेज गति से बढ़ने वाली अर्थव्यवस्थाओं में से एक आज भारत की अर्थव्यवस्था है। दुनिया में देश के गौरव को बहुत ऊपर ले जाने का काम नरेंद्र मोदी सरकार ने किया। देश की सीमाओं को सुरक्षित करने का काम नरेंद्र मोदी सरकार ने किया है। और आज भारतीय न केवल हिंदुस्तान में, दुनिया में कहीं पर भी जो रहता है, मूल भारत का निवासी है, वो गौरव की प्रतीति करता है कि नरेंद्र मोदी के शासन में भारत आगे बढ़ रहा है और भारत दुनिया में अपने गौरव को बढ़ा रहा है।
एक कन्फ्यूजन देवेगौड़ा जी को लेकर है और कुमार स्वामी जी को लेकर है। ये लोग आपके साथ हैं कि ये नहीं हैं? और ये जो पीपीपी वाला जो था,
देखिए, कम से कम 50 सीटों पर भारतीय जनता पार्टी और देवेगौड़ा जी की पार्टी का, जेडीएस का कड़ा मुकला बल्ला चल जाए, साथ में रहने का कोई क्वेश्चन डज नॉट अराइज। 50 सीटों पर आउट ऑफ 224।
ये जो पीपीपी है, मैं इसको ऐसे करके देखता हूं कि पोस्ट पोल पार्टनर। आपका कोई पोस्ट पोल पार्टनर होगा या आपने दरवाजे बंद कर दिए?
पोस्ट पोल पार्टनर तब होता है जब हंग असेंबली आए। यहाँ पर पूर्ण बहुमत की भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार बनने वाली है और हमारा प्री पोल पार्टनर नहीं, इसलिए पोस्ट पोल पार्टनर का सवाल पैदा नहीं होता।
तो इसका मतलब कोई आपकी पार्टनरशिप आज आप बता रहे हैं कि नहीं होगी देवेगौड़ा?
निश्चित रूप से नहीं होगी। हम आमने सामने चुनाव लड़ रहे सुधीर।
Now, dubbed the Oscars of the East Coast for its celebrity guest list and stunning outfits, the much-anticipated Met Gala took place at New York's Metropolitan Museum of Art. Hosted by Anna Wintour, the editor of fashion powerhouse Vogue, the theme this year combined fashion with religion. While most of Hollywood and its music industry left an impact, Priyanka Chopra too made a statement with her attire.
Priyanka Chopra and Deepika Padukone stunned the shutterbugs as they strutted their stuff on the golden red carpet. Priyanka sashayed down in a crimson-coloured Ralph Lauren gown, teamed with a bejeweled hood. A thumbs up to the lady for sticking with the theme, heavenly bodies, fashion and the Catholic imagination. While Deepika Padukone looked gorgeous in a red Prabal Gaurang gown, showing off her thigh-high split and a glitzy pair of earrings, she failed to deliver the fashion chutzpah of the gala's theme. But Hollywood's elite took the theme to heart and crosses, veils and headdresses ruled the red carpet. Material girl Madonna committed to the theme in a regal black Jean-Paul Gaultier gown, while Rihanna, fearless as ever, dressed as a female pope in a Margiela corset mini dress. Jennifer Lopez made her 10th appearance at the Met Gala with partner Alex Rodriguez by her side. While Ariana Grande sported an elaborate gown, Katy Perry grabbed eyeballs with her elaborate angel wings. And speaking of elaborate, Cardi B, Nicki Minaj and Sarah Jessica Parker stole the limelight with their headgear. Lena Waithe, the first black woman to win an Emmy for comedy writing, made a strong political statement by donning a pride flag cape, the most undeniable symbol for LGBTQ rights. Other bigwigs to rock the red carpet included Kylie Jenner and a casual appearance by television's late-night royalty, Jimmy Fallon. Kylie Jenner and a casual appearance by television's late-night royalty, Jimmy Fallon and Stephen Colbert. The red carpet also saw the arrival of co-hosts of the gala, Amal Clooney, Donatella Versace and Anna Wintour. Interestingly, Wintour, who takes the final call on the guest list, scratched President Donald Trump off the list. The Met Gala tickets cost a whopping $30,000 each, with a table costing $275,000. All proceeds go to the Metropolitan Museum of Art's Costume Institute, the only curatorial department at the museum that funds itself. Entertainment Bureau, WION.